What's going on, guys? Alex here with 814 ADC, and today I'm ready to do my full review on the Kershaw Knives Layup. This is a knife via the Lefty passaround group. It is in a package deal with the Layup, and if you guys saw yesterday's video, the Dark Bolt Designs Arcus. I had really no idea what the Layup was. I really wanted to check out the Arcus, and I saw Kevin throw it in put it in a package with the Layup, and I actually had to look up what the Layup was because, again, wasn't familiar with it. And it turns out I noticed that it was a Duralock knife, which is Kershaw's crossbar lock style system, and I was like, you know what? Let's check it out. Or this wasn't like the deciding factor, but I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So, whenever I got the knife in and we unboxed it, I was surprised to see that it was an assisted knife. I'm not, super big on assisted knives. They fill a form and a function of the EDC world, but definitely not, for me anymore. I feel like these are more of sort of a beginner's knife because you're kind of not used to opening knives, and they just are snappy and, just do it for you pretty much. The last assisted knife I bought was actually another Kershaw. It was the 20 CV green aluminum link. I actually gave that to my dad for Father's Day a couple years ago, and he still uses it this day for, beating up around the house and sort of his heavy duty folder. And I always thought that knife was a really good value. But this is, I believe, according to Blade HQ's website, which I will leave a link to down below in the description if you guys are interested in checking out the Layup. The Layup is Kershaw's first assisted knife utilizing the Duralock system, which is interesting. It's a full-size pocket knife with a snappy blade deployment facilitated by the flipper tab. Shebang like that. We're going to jump right into the full review. Material is coming up first, you guys know. Starting off with handle scales. This is rocking a polymer handle. You guys can see it kind of has like that texturing to it that I don't know. It's almost like sandpaper tape, but it's pretty cool. I'm not the biggest fan of polymer or FRN or plastic handle scale knives, but honestly, this doesn't bother me too much because I do like the way this is textured. You guys can see it's tapped for righty or lefty carry with that loop over style deep carry clip, which is nice because, of course, it is an ambidextrous knife with that lock. You have the flipper tab. You have some standoffs back here, dead centered. Excuse me. You have a drop point style blade with a very nice amount of belly. It's nice and thin. The blade stock thickness is pretty good too. It really comes down to a good edge. There is Kershaw, and then there is the it's a D2 blade, patent pending, number 2042, and of course Kershaw's little, I believe that means that it's an in-house design. And then China, which seems like there is a little bit of rust there on the flipper tab. It's hard to pick up, but something that caught my eye. I didn't carry this a whole lot of much, so I don't know if that's for me or if that's just from the knife. But yeah, nice looking blade. D2, not the best, but it's definitely an upgrade over their HCR 13 MOV that they use, which I think is bottom of the barrel steel. But yeah, some quick specs. Overall length from tip to butt, 7.875. Blade length coming in at 3.5. Cutting edge at 3.25. Blade width of 1.125. Handle length 4.5. Handle thickness 0.5. It comes in weighing 3.64 ounces thanks to the polymer. Polymer makes, for a really, really lightweight carry, which is really good, especially when you're getting, 3.5 inches of blade on there, which is awesome. So as far as materials go, you have to consider the price point, which we haven't gone over yet. But you get a loop over style deep carry clip that is reversible. You get an assisted model with the Duralock system, flipper tab, polymer handle scales, D2 blade. I really wish the blade would have been more than D2, like Nitro V or 14CN or 14C28N, excuse me. But we have to remember this is Kershaw we're talking about, and they primarily use, especially in the price range of this knife, HCR and pretty budget steels. D2 is definitely an upgrade over that, so I'm gonna go 5. I really don't have an issue with anything on this. You know, because to me, like I said, this is kind of pushed more towards like beginners in the EDC world. You know, guys that are just getting used to carrying knives and, you know, aren't used to deploying the knife, and it does it for you basically. And that's kind of where those materials are lining up in my mind. So I'm gonna give it a 5 because it's definitely, you just have to take kind of some bias out of it. I think it's very fair to give it a 5. Aesthetic. I like how this knife looks. I think it looks clean. Again, I love that blade shape. You have a little bit of a ramp up here. Just a beautiful, beautiful bellied drop point right there. Handle is very neutral. You know, just a clean, simple looking knife, and I have really sort of grown to quite enjoy it. So I think I'm going to give it a 5, which is kind of wild to say that I'm giving, not necessarily wild to say, but it's just a little bit surprising that I'm giving a budget Kershaw knife a 5 when it comes to aesthetic, but I really do like the way this knife looks. Action. Now, I was debating on how to go into doing this, because this is unlike any knife that I've reviewed so far when it comes to action, because it is assisted, but it's not an automatic. You know, it's different. It's hard to kind of compare this to something that has a manual action. So I'm just going to kind of do my same thing and just sort of, you know, be honest about it. But I mean, the only way deploying the knife is by the flipper tab, and it doesn't have a detent. It has a spring in there, so you just pull back and it fires out. So one way, you know, one good thing about it, I guess, is, I mean, you can pretty much just barely pull that back and it's going to deploy every time. So you're getting very, very good deployment rate and very good success when it comes to that. Now you of course can, you know, de-assist this. I have seen people do that before, and it makes a fine folder. But not my knife, so I'm not going to do that. But it is very snappy. That is, I mean, one good thing about assisted is you're gonna get that snappy thwack of the blade out every time. And then of course you can drop it, but it only goes to, I mean, you guys can see it's bouncing back off of the spring. So that's about as far as it'll go right there. And then you have that spring tension. You gotta push it the whole way closed. So you're gonna have to drop it, go like that, drop it, go like that. Some people are probably going to do like this if they don't feel comfortable, you know, manipulating it in one hand, or they're going to, a lot of them are probably gonna be like this, but there are some that might go like this and so on and so forth. But yeah, not really too much to talk about. It's gonna be a pretty quick action, you know, statement sort of section of the review, but snappy because of course it's assisted. Drops down halfway and then you close it. I'm gonna go. What do I do with this? Because I mean, obviously an assisted knife is, I don't like it compared to other manual knives, but I have to be, you know, for what it is, I do think it's very good for being an assisted knife. I'm gonna go, I almost dropped it on myself. I'm gonna go 4.5. This is probably gonna be a stupidly high ranking for an assisted knife that I would probably never go buy myself, but acoustics, that's gonna be low. I mean, you're getting a decent, that's the best part of it, of course, snaps out, and then when you close it, kind of that spring settling back in and snapping back into place. But I mean, it's okay. Easy 3.5. That's pretty much my standard go-to when it comes to all right or good or decent acoustics, and that's what the layup is getting. Next up is ergos. The ergos are very comfortable on this. I already stated that this is polymer, FRN, whatever you want to call it, plastic, but that doesn't bother me because it does have a really nice texturing to it. And that texturing is very, very comfortable when you're gripping into the knife in the saber grip or hammer grip. I can get all 4 fingers in the knife. The pot clip is, of course, a looper style deep carry clip, so it's going to sit proud of the knife, and you do have a little bit of, you know, some edges back here, but honestly, I'm pretty much off of that right there, and you can use this flipper choil to choke up and get an even better grip on the knife. Your thumb either lands right there on that jimping or lands out even farther, which is really nice for push cuts. No complaints at all there. And of course, it is reversible lefty or righty, which is really nice. But yeah, the polymer just has a really good amount of texture to it. but not overly aggressive to where it's going to rip up your hands. Just, fits on there really nice. And of course you can, choke up and go from there. You can switch this around and kind of use it in like more of a tactical fighting way. Pretty nice because you have this nice sort of pommel area right there for your thumb that gives you some more texturing if you have to, or not texturing, but grippage if you have to utilize it like that. So as far as ergos are going, I'm going to give it a 5. It is very, very comfortable. It's very lightweight, which is nice. It's coming in at like 3.5 ounces, 3.6 ounces, which feels really good, especially for a bigger knife. This is 3.5 inches, so nice in that aspects of it. But yeah, overall, ergos are very, very comfortable. Next up is carry. Carry can be pretty positive as well. It, of course, is a looper style deep carry clip, like I've mentioned like 14 times in the last 2 minutes, so I apologize about that. You do have just like a smidgen of this sticking up out of your pocket. Not a big deal at all. I maybe would have wished them to like kind of made the clip over a little bit, but half an inch is really nothing at all. It sits in the pocket deep. Again, lightweight, sits down in. You do have the flipper tab to be at risk of possibly, catching on your thumb or your hand as you put it down in your pocket and you take your other hand and go down in to get maybe chapstick, chains, things like that. Things like that. You do have to be aware of possibly, connecting on to pull it up out of your pocket. But in all honesty, the jimping is not aggressive at all, so you're more than likely your finger's just going to pop right off. I haven't filmed 3 videos in a row in a while. I'm starting to slur my words a little bit. We're talking about carry. Yeah, 3.5 ounces pretty much, which is pretty much on par for a 3.5 inch knife, excuse me. No issues whatsoever, and the fact that it's ambidextrous is good as well. Carry this in gym shorts around the house a few times. I did carry it once out and about with me. No issues whatsoever. So I'm going to give it a 5. If I really have nothing to complain about, it's pretty much a good enough reason to give it a 5, right? But that leads me to my last category of price point / value / would I recommend this knife. So I think the price is okay on the layup. It's coming in at $54.95, so $55 for this. I don't think it's the best value out there because there are so many other knives in like the $40 to $50 range nowadays that are just so good with better steel, better handle materials, that aren't assisted. But I do think it's an okay value. It's not the best value. It's not the worst value. It's just okay. It kind of falls in the middle of the pack. And I can recommend this knife if you are looking for something assisted. Again, I'm not into assisted knives. I don't keep up on assisted knives, so I don't know what is out there as in terms of a market for assisted knives. But I do think this is a really good assisted knife. So if you are someone who is getting into the EDC world yourself, or if you were looking for maybe a present for your dad, your brother, your friend, somebody that is wanting to get into carrying knives but is kind of new to the whole thing, I don't think an assisted knife is the worst way to start because you can get something like this with a decent enough blade steel, a nice pot clip. It carries really well. It's going to be reliable for firing out and deploying every single time for that person. I think assisted knives are a great sort of learning knife when it comes to carrying knives. And then once they get down with that, they'll be like, oh, I want to try something and sort of fidget with something that is more manual and I can control it more often and, do more myself. But I definitely think and still agree that assisted knives have a place in the community. Eventually you grow out of them and you get on to bigger and better things. They're kind of like training wheels for bikes, and things like that. So, can I recommend it that way? Absolutely. I think it's great for someone like that. I think it's a great assisted knife. And, it kind of goes both ways because you can buy this as an assisted knife for somebody and they love it and they use it and they carry it for a while. And then they, maybe you hang out with them or you see them and you show them, one of your crossbar, style lock knives that you can fidget with yourself. And they're like, oh, I want to do that. I'm sure you could, de-assist this, take the spring out and make this a manual knife that they would be able to fidget with and do that, drop the knife the whole way down themselves. And, it can kind of kill 2 birds with one stone. It can be a training knife possibly in both of those ways. So long story short, I can recommend it to, you know, the crowd of people that are wanting to get into the knife world, or a gift for someone that's wanting to get into the knife world. $55 I think is fair. Did I already give my value? I don't think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I got to give value. So I'm going to go 4.5 on the value, just simply because there is better stuff out there. But as far as assisted knives go, I think it's fair. So let me count this up real quick. Alrighty, guys, the Kershaw Knives Layup is coming in at a 32.5, which lands it in the fantastic category. I was not expecting that, you know, but being not biased and trying to look at the knife at what it is, not comparing it to other knives. Like, it's kind of crazy that the Layup and the Kubi Interflow both got 32.5s, but, you know, they did for different reasons, for different methods. But they both ended up at that score, and that's what I like about my, you know, review system, my ranking system is, you know, it just depends on how the knife is and how the knife functions and, you know, feels. So I think a 32.5 is a little bit surprising, but I think it's fair for this knife, and I do think it's a fantastic knife for what it is. You know, if you're looking at assisted knives, you know, it's a cool knife. So huge shout out to Kevin over at Lefty EDC for letting me check this piece out. If you guys are interested, as I said, this will be linked in the description down below. Please go check it out. And yeah, but I'm going to wrap this up now. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, day, night, whenever you are watching this. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.